It's time for love. It's time for your love coach. Let's find out if you're ready for love. Here's your marvelous host, Nikki Lee.
Hello, and welcome to Ready for Love Radio. This is your host and love coach, Nikki Lee. Now, today we're going to talk to a coach from Canada. So we're going intercontinent today. So I'd like to welcome Coach Roman Marinoff. How are you doing today, Roman?
Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm glad to be with you today, and I hope to share a great conversation with you.
Awesome. I love getting different perspectives and different experiences, and we're going to share some interesting insights. And it's interesting that most everybody I have on the show is sharing insights from their personal experiences. And from looking over your information, it looks like you got into coaching a lot because of your experiences. So it's going to be an interesting show. We're going to share some neat things. So it says that you trained in a training program of Tony Robbins. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah. So what I did was taking his program from July last year to around the end of March this year. And this is a life coaching program. It's called Core 100. He created it together with Chloe Madanas and Mark and Magalipatia. So it consists of 16 modules, and they are basically videos with Tony and a lot of other additional materials created by other people.
Okay.
And the certificate that I got from them, it says that I went through 100 hours of training, and I'm a life coach.
All right. Now, before that, you had a translation company in Russia. So
that's right.
All right. So Russian to English or Russian to a variety of other languages?
Yeah, it was more like a variety of languages, mostly into whatever language into Russian, like German or Ukrainian, English, French into Russian.
Okay. One of my good friends is Ukrainian, and it's funny, whenever I go to have my hair done, everybody speaks either Spanish or Ukrainian when I'm in there, and I told her I feel like I'm in a foreign country every time I get my hair done.
Yeah.
I told her, I said that, or she doesn't trust me, she just won't speak English around me, one of the two. I'm not sure which.
Right. Yeah, it's actually, I find it rude when people talk another language, like in the presence of a person who doesn't understand that language.
Well, everybody else, all the people that work for her speak other languages, and most of her clients do. I'm one of the only English-speaking, or people that only speaks English that go there. So, but I feel very continental when I go to have my hair done. So it's interesting. And even after all these years, I haven't picked up anything. I still don't know what she's talking about.
All right.
But I just go to relax and be pampered and get my hair done. So it says you're a fan of self-improvement and have been for more than 10 years, and so you bring your best ideas to your clients. Do you find that going through self-improvement things yourself and kind of trial and error and that kind of thing gives you a wide variety of examples and information and tools to bring to your clients?
Absolutely. It's like with dating skills. After I had my divorce, I had to put myself out there, and because I didn't know anything about dating, really, even though I had been in a marriage. So I had to learn. That was like the first component, and the second component was actually testing everything on myself. So now I'm able to be more relatable for my clients. Because
Exactly.
I actually practice everything that I teach now.
Right. Well, that's like on here. I use a lot of examples out of things that I've personally done, and I cover a lot of topics that hit very close to home, and give examples out of things that I've done, and even when sometimes it's a topic that's tough for me to talk about, but I tell the listeners that it's very personal to me, and that this is something that I've done personally, or I've overcome personally, because I think that's so helpful for people to know. It's not just something I studied, or just something I read about, or just I heard about it, because I think it helps them to know, I've been there, I've done that. I do understand what you're going through. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more. I do believe that stories are a very, very powerful tool when it comes to coaching, because it helps people relate to you, and they also feel that you're equipped to understand them really, really deeply.
Right. Well, that's like when you're going through a really hard situation, and the person goes, "Oh, I understand," and you're sitting there going, "No, you don't. You couldn't possibly." And you could appreciate that they're trying to understand, like when you're going through some real big, like, health crisis kind of thing, and on a certain level. I mean, I went through something that only 3% of people survive, and
wow.
I could appreciate that people were trying to understand, but they meant well, okay? But I knew from what I was going through and what I was being told by the doctors and what I was researching, there was just no way in hell that they really did understand. And over the last 5 years, I really came to understand that they didn't get it by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm like, okay, but appreciate that they're trying, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But when a person really has gone through what you're going through, it just helps. It just helps when a person can, and even when you can just share some little insight that tells the person, hey, they do get it. They do understand what I'm going through, and there are little keywords you can tell the person, and there are little experiences you can share that it just registers, and you can see it in their face, you can hear it in their voice, and they're like, oh, they do get it. They do understand, And don't you just love when, like, if you're talking to them on the phone or you're in person, and you just hear that expression in their voice, and they're like, they know I do get it. They knew I understand, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. And I've been reading a novel by Stephen King recently, and there is a great example. So there was this woman who ended up in a hospital because she was abused by her husband, and a counselor came into her room, into her ward, and the first thing that counselor did is she showed her big scar that her husband had, left on her, and by showing that scar, that was like just the same thing that you're talking about. Like, she made herself relatable to that woman, and that opened up like great possibilities for a relationship between them, a counseling relationship.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've had open heart surgery twice, and I've got a little bit of a scar left, and you could, depending on what I'm wearing, you can see that. And I'll see people, and some people are very offended and go, oh, you should cover that up. But other people that have had the same surgery, and I'm like, it bothers you, turn your head. I have to live with this. If it bothers you, just don't look. But other people who have had the same surgery, it's comforting to them to see that I understand what they've been through, because it's a humongous I mean, it's a major recovery to recuperate from that kind of thing. So I mean, I've had other people come up and they'll say something to me just because they see that scar. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. Great example, actually.
Good. So, and just let me take this minute to acknowledge you for what you went through with the surgery and this disease, which is, you said, the survival is 3%.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
Well, and I joined a support group on Facebook just for people that have either been through that, have lost family members or friends to that, or that kind of thing, because it's a space where you can go in and you can comment, and like everybody in that room gets it, you know. So it's nice to be around other people who truly do get what you're going through, whatever kind of situation it may be.
True.
So, okay, and so last year you were able to accomplish a lifelong dream. What was that? Because I know how cool it is to have a lifelong dream come true for you.
Yeah, the lifelong dream was to move from Russia to North America.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am.
Yes. So you're just north of me now. You're in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, right. So are you liking North American life?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the reason I liked it for many years, but I was doing it on basically online. I mean,
right.
not in person.
Right.
And now I am able to do that, to enjoy this lifestyle myself. The lifestyle and the culture.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. That was a big accomplishment for me, and I am very, very grateful for it. Although I did have to go through some challenges, including the fact that my 10-year-old son is back in Russia, and I miss him a lot.
Oh, I imagine. Well, and you can't travel right now, but you've got technology. You've got technology, so you can see him, even if you can't be there. Not the same, though.
Exactly. That's true.
No, not the same. But it is better than not being able to see him at all, though. So, all right. So let's see. Got some questions. Now, a lot of people, and being relationship coaches and that kind of thing, we definitely deal with this on a regular basis. And I mean, I know people I'm sure come up to both of us with this kind of a problem. When we talk to people that have marriages that have kind of run into problems and that kind of thing, what are some things that you would suggest to people that have a marriage that's hit some problems that they could do to turn things around and to save their marriage? What would your suggestions be?
Well, there are quite a few things that I can actually do, and I think that the easiest and the most practical is to start talking to each other again.
Yes.
Create a family tradition of, let's say, taking a walk after dinner and actually talking to each other for 1 hour.
Wow, a whole hour. I like that.
Yeah.
And this isn't just fluff talk and talking about kids or talking about work, right? You're talking about like real talking to each other.
Yeah. It's okay to talk about kids and, the household and work for a few minutes, but then normally people, they do open up and they start sharing really deep things.
Awesome. And not their favorite TV show, right?
Look, it's okay to talk about the TV show. It's okay to talk about simple stuff. But the point is that even that will help, I believe. But with time,
they should get to like something beyond the fluff stuff, though, right?
Yeah, you will. Definitely you will. Maybe not, maybe you'll spend 1 week talking about TV shows and whatever, but then you'll get into more important stuff. And it's also okay to talk about TV shows. it's the I think the main thing about this is that you actually you communicate for the sake of communication, for the sake of getting to know the other person, even if they talk about their favorite TV show.
Okay. Just checking what kind of communication you want. All right. I'm a big proponent of communicating, so I just asking.
Right.
Now, I'm also very, very fond of having boundaries, okay, and communicating your boundaries to your spouse or significant other or whoever the other person is in your life. Now, and once you've set these boundaries and you've communicated these boundaries, to standing by these boundaries. Okay, I figure if you have boundaries, or when you have boundaries, you have to enforce the boundaries. Okay, setting boundaries and then not sticking by them is useless. Okay, that's useless. I also really like the concept of unconditional love. I think enough people. There aren't enough people that really understand unconditional love and give unconditional love. So I want to know, tell me what you think about this. Can you have unconditional love for someone and at the same time have set boundaries of your own and stick to those boundaries? So can we actually have both of those things at the same time?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I don't think that there is any paradox in that. Although I do know what you're talking about.
I've had people tell me that you can't do both of those things, and I think you can.
Yeah.
So you agree with me that you can do both of those things at the same time?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. How can you do that?
Let's think about an example so that we
Okay.
can.
I like examples. That's good.
Well, let's say a woman wants her man to open the door for her. Let's say she wants when she gets out of the car, right? And he doesn't do that.
Okay, I like it. And this isn't because he thinks she's weak and she can't open the door. This is because he's being kind, right?
A gentleman, yeah.
Woo! A gentleman. I love it. Okay, good. Let's go. That's good. I'm okay. Very much into men being gentlemen. I don't think it's because he thinks she's weak. I think guys can be gentlemen. Wonderful. Okay, love it.
All right. So the first thing is that for her to do is to set a boundary. So she tells him to open the door for her, right?
Okay.
Then let's say he does it for a couple of times, but then he stops. He forgets about it.
Okay.
And then she will enforce this just by reminding him about this, but in a loving way.
Okay.
I mean, she'll say, for example, not saying that, hey, why did you stop to open the door for me? No. Instead of that, she can say, those couple of times that you opened the door for me, I felt excited. I felt really glad that you did this. And then she loves him unconditionally. She does what he wants. She makes him feel loved. And then, he realizes, okay, she's giving me tons of unconditional love, and, I want to reciprocate. How can I do that? And then he remembers, or she reminds him that he can be a gentleman and open the door. And that's when he opens the door.
True.
She does enforce the boundary, but she does it in a loving way. I think that's the main idea.
Right.
Not in an angry way.
Well, there's so many ways to remind somebody of something, and not like, you idiot, you didn't open my door. There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
You know, or there's I was talking to somebody the other month about, it's in like a family unit sometimes people don't think about just showing kind consideration and respect for each other. And that drives me up the wall. I grew up with that. I grew up around that. And over the years, it just drives me crazy when people don't just show respect for people that they care about. And it just, I'm becoming much more intolerant of that kind of thing. And it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just the kind of thing, like I said, I'm just getting to the point where I'm having a hard time putting up with it, and it's even just little things, it's like, excuse me, and that kind of thing, that it's just showing respect in just simple little ways for people, that you're around all the time, but not taking them for granted and that kind of thing. Does it make any sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And we do feel neglected in our relationships a lot because, people do take us for granted. That's normal. That's like human condition. So I think that, like, speaking about a practical way to break through this is be a role model, be an example, show what you want other people to, just show the behavior that you want to see in your partner. So let's say if you want them to praise you, to acknowledge every little thing that you do, start doing that yourself. Tell your husband that he does so many great things for the family. Acknowledge all those things, and the next thing you know, he will do the same for you.
All right. I tell you what, how would you describe unconditional love? Okay, I tell you what, how about healthy unconditional love? I think that's even better.
Okay, so the description is simple. I believe that life equals unconditional love. Like the reality actually equals unconditional love, because the reality is built on this concept. And I think that actually what prevents us from having unconditional love is the fact that we have ego. And the more of an ego we have, the more difficult it is to love unconditionally. And speaking about this, like answering the second part of your question, I believe that it's very, very healthy. It's not just healthy. I believe that's the only way to go in a relationship, to love unconditionally, in any relationship. Even in the relationships to material things. This just the way I look at them, I do my best to give unconditional love to everything that I have in my life, including material things, because when I treat them with care, I feel better. I feel better about them, and I feel better about myself. So I think it's healthy. Whether it makes sense to love unconditionally for a long time when the other person treats you like a doormat, this is another question. So it's the question is how much time you're ready to love unconditionally. And I normally say it's 3 months. Until you see positive changes. So for example, if a person comes to me for coaching and asks me, okay, so what should I say? Love your partner unconditionally. And then they say, okay, how long should I do that before expecting any results? And I tell them that try to do it for 3 months. 3 months is usually like the best period to see whether it works or not.
Okay. Interesting. There are very few people that I have felt truly loved me unconditionally.
Okay.
Because just so many people just seem to have, loved me, yes, but there was conditions around their approval, let's say. They may have loved me to a degree, but having their love and approval was a whole different ballgame, to say the least. But interesting. All right, now you know when people are together, especially when they're married in a relationship, how the passion seems to be at a fever pitch at the beginning, and may flame up at times, but over the long term, it may kind of not be nearly as passionate. And passion's important. We like passion. So,
Absolutely.
well, I know I do. So what are some suggestions for how to keep passion in a relationship? Because it seems to me that over the long term, we should be able to keep passion in a relationship. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. Even though it's difficult because the hormone levels that we have at the beginning, they definitely decrease with time. So that's a biological thing. But we can actually resist it, and there are a lot of ways. The ones that I like include, so for example, you sit down and you just think together about the good memories that you had together, about the good moments, and every time you think about it, you actually go back into that state that you were in back then, and you recreate the passion in yourself. I also like to tell my clients to create memories. Do something creative romantically for your partner, and that will make both you and them feel better and feel passion, because this is where it comes from. Then I also recommend creating a separate channel for all romantic communication. So you don't use it like your phone for talking about romance together with, because you want to keep the phone or whatever messenger you use for your everyday needs. You keep using it, but let's say create a separate email account that will use exclusively for romance.
That's what I was thinking. A separate email account would be the easiest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Or a separate Facebook account and use that message.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. Just a separate account. And one other tip is have a date every week, but make sure that you don't have to get home at any specific time. So let's say you get a babysitter and need to get back at 9 p.m. No, that's not how it should work. It should be without this responsibility of getting back home, so that you can go all in and let's say, get home at 4 a.m.
Right. Interesting. Well, yeah, if you're going to have a date night, have a date night. Come on.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, exactly.
That's like these people when you tell them that one of the first signs there's a problem is you stop kissing, and then you tell them that they need to start kissing again, and they do these little wimpy pecks on the cheek. It's no. Kiss each other,
Yeah.
But yeah. If you're going to do it, do it. But yeah, I like that. And I like the other form of communication or another avenue. I like that. That's very cool.
There you go. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
It's really just creates newness, right?
Yeah.
And and passion is all about newness, because love is, it's unconditional love. It's about, but passion is really, really all about newness. And by doing all the things that were mentioned, you introduce newness.
Right. Well, and you might even do to wear a wig on your date, because then you feel like a new person. So,
Oh, yeah. Actually, my ex-wife used to wear a wig on our dates. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, like I said, then you feel like a new person, a different person, and yeah. All right. Now this next question may land me in trouble with some people. You never know. You never know. How can and should you change your partner? And should I say, should you change your partner?
Yeah.
And we may disagree on your answer, so we'll start with that.
Okay, so my answer, even though all situations are different, right? My general advice is, of course, not to change your partner, because this will only create resentment, both first in them, because you don't want other people to stampede on you, even if that other person is your loved one.
Right.
And then it will create resentment in you, because you'll see that they're not changing, and you'll feel bad about it. And
true.
How to change your partner? The question doesn't really make sense to me, because it presupposes manipulation, right? So you want to manipulate the other person into doing something that you want. And this makes no sense, because, we were talking about unconditional love, and this is the exact opposite of unconditional love, because when we love unconditionally, we accept the reality as it is. That's but when we try to manipulate the reality, that's the opposite of unconditional love.
Right. Now, there may be some unhealthy things with a person, and we may have some unhealthy things that we need to work on. But that's not changing. That's, how do we describe that?
Boundaries. I think it's about boundaries.
Yeah.
Just, setting them, letting them know, and then letting it go.
Right. Exactly. Okay. But when you want to make fundamental changes to a person, then the person's not right for you. That's simple. But there are certain things that we just know that it's not healthy for us personally, for various reasons. That's a boundary. But okay. I just testing you. Just want to see what you say. So, I can see listeners going, "What did she just say?" Just keeping you on your toes, Roman. Just keeping you on your toes. All right. So why do you feel, or do you feel, that unconditional love is key to a healthy relationship? While you think about it, I think a person always feels that they're being tested or manipulated if there's always conditions to our love. If a person feels that it's like, well, I'll love you if you blah 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 blah, or I would love you more if blah 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 blah. And I've heard people say that, and I know of people in relationships that have done that, and you always feel that you're not good enough, that the person feels they're better than you, and like I said, you always feel like you're being tested or put down and that kind of thing. And that's not healthy. That's manipulative, and wow, that's not good for either person at all. But I'll let you say what you want to say.
Good. So to answer your question, I think that with unconditional love, we are actually able to give the person the gift
of feeling, you know, like they never felt in their life, the being accepted as they are without any conditions. I think this alone can heal them in so many ways.
Oh, good point. Very true. There's just something about unconditional love and acceptance. You know, it's amazing.
It is.
Well, and I've got a program called Love, Accept, and Respect Yourself. And, you know, once you can feel that you love yourself, accept yourself as you are, and respect yourself, that's amazing. And then you're in such a position to love and accept another person. It's just, and being non-judgmental about yourself. It's an amazing situation.
Exactly.
Okay, now what should a person do if they realize they're in a toxic relationship? That's a whole show right there.
You know, I think I already mentioned this. My general approach is to recommend practicing unconditional love for 3 months. And
Okay.
if things don't change, leave the relationship.
Right. If they start to see the signals of a toxic relationship, would you tell them to hold out for 3 months or to get out sooner?
Normally, I think that 3 months is the best time frame for this. The only reason to get out earlier is if you had tried this for, like, you know, before you started seeing me as a coach, and you already tried it for half a year, and it makes no sense to go for another 3 months. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So yeah, I would recommend for them to get out.
Okay, I'm just saying if it's really toxic.
If it's really toxic, yeah.
But I mean, if it's really bad, I would tell them to get a plan and you've got to safely get out, because there's so many things that if you're not careful and don't do it safely can be very bad.
Yeah.
But
disastrous. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this next question is easily a show within itself, but we'll see.
Okay.
How can a person in a relationship that may not be happy avoid cheating? Because that can be very tempting if you're not happy and your needs aren't being met for various reasons, or there's a whole lot of reasons people decide to cheat. But how can they avoid cheating? They can not get in a relationship, but if they're already in a relationship, how can they avoid cheating?
Well, I would say if you want to avoid cheating, right? If you want to avoid cheating,
okay,
I would get a coach.
Okay.
I think that's the easiest way. And if you don't want to get a coach for this, you can increase your standards, like more moral values, moral standards, by reading about it.
Reading about what?
Reading about infidelity, reading about standards. Well, let's say I have a client who is very religious, and it helps him to actually study the Jewish text in order not to think about infidelity, not to think about porn and masturbation.
Okay.
So by reading those religious books, religious texts, by studying them, by paying attention to them, by making this work very conscious, he is under a lower risk of infidelity.
Okay. Okay. that will work for some people. I know a lot of people that are very religious that have gotten into all kinds of situations, but that's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 shows. But we were mentioning earlier taking our partners for granted.
Right.
So let's dig into that a little bit more. Why is it important not to take a relationship or your partner for granted?
That's because feeling significant or feeling important is crucial, is a very crucial need that we all humans share, and your partner wants to feel significant. If you don't...
That's what we call it, a significant other, right?
Wow, yeah, that's a good point. And they want us to praise them. They want us to communicate our plans to them. They want us to ask their opinion. So they want to be able to see that they are important to us. And if we don't get them to feel that importance, that's when they feel that they are taken for granted, and they stop putting their best foot forward.
And I think it's not just verbally telling them, but showing them through our actions. Because it's easy to say the words, well, for most people, but also showing them through the things we do and how we treat them. And for a lot of people, that can be harder. Because, and I grew up around this too, watching a partner treat other people better than they treat their spouse can be very difficult. Absolutely. And it's really, really bad if your children see a husband or wife treating other people better than they treat the other parent. And so it's a really, really bad example. So, like I said, no matter what you say, your actions and your words need to match each other.
Yeah, walk the talk. Yeah.
Yeah. That should be clear, but it doesn't. Not always does that happen. So, one of the things. That also brings up the point that we need to remember for parents. That your kids are watching. They are watching, and number one way that kids are learning how to have a relationship when they grow up is watching their parents. They're going to learn from other things, and from their friends and relatives and all these others, and the internet, unfortunately. But the number way they're learning how to have relationships and how to interact with other people is watching their parents. So what are they learning by watching you and your significant other? It's something to think about. So
yeah, totally.
Now if we have a partner that has been through some sort of trauma, has had bad relationships before, had problems through their childhood, either with parents, other people, how can we help them or heal them with unconditional love?
Yeah, just by expressing it, and it means you give them the listening ear, you listen to them, you ask them very, very deep questions that help them open up and share a lot of deep things. You show them support in everything that they do around that topic. So, for example, if they want to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you support them, even if that costs a lot. you show them that you will be there for them whatever happens. So you give them that certainty, like this. These are a few ways.
Okay. Now, do you feel that people need a relationship?
I don't know. It's up to them. It's up to, every person is different. Someone could get a divorce and then say, okay, I'm not having any relationships anymore. I am done with relationships. Right.
Right.
And someone else might have been alone. I mean, without a partner for 10 years, and they crave a relationship. So it's different. But if we look at this need for love and connection as a very basic need, I do believe that we all have it, but we just have it to a different degree. Someone needs tons of love from their spouse, from their kids, from their extended family, and someone else might, be okay with like a connection to their community or to their dog. And that's it.
Do you think that society, and by extension our families, make it more difficult for us to not have a relationship?
It depends on the society, because let's take Western culture. I think it actually oftentimes makes relationships more difficult, because I want to say that it in the recent years, I believe it has devalued relationships through a lot of things like feminism, demasculinizing men. Whereas in other cultures, it's totally different. Well, let's take Middle East. In those cultures, they place huge value on relationships, and so they actually want people to have great relationships.
Interesting. I figured since you came from a different area, you might have a different perspective on that. But
right.
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, Western culture is wreaking havoc on relationships. But wow, it's something else over here, to say the least. But the demasculinization of men in this country has gotten to ridiculous proportions. But I can tell you that it's kind of eased up in the last 10 or 15 years. But when I was a teenager and in my 20s, the pressure to be married if you were female was insane. But yeah, like I said, it's eased up. But wow, it was something else at that point. It's like, okay, my life, not yours. So.
Right. And yeah, we can see it in the number of kids and families. It has gone down like dramatically, right? From like five kids to 1 or 0.
Yeah, it really has. It's kind of strange how things have changed drastically in the last 30 years.
Yeah, very quickly. That's true.
Yeah. Well, in 30 years, I mean, I know to millennials that seems like a lifetime, because it is, but it's really strange how much has changed in that short a period of time.
True.
But it's interesting. So now, and you put this on your list, so I'm allowed to talk to you about this. Some of the problems and issues that led to your divorce that you might be willing to share to the listeners, and how they can avoid them. What would some of those issues be? Because
the first one was.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one was definitely workaholism. So I was a workaholic, and I spent too much time working and too little time taking care of my wife and my kid.
Okay, that's a common one too.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Now I know.
Yeah.
The second thing was my perfectionism. So I was very judgmental of myself and also of my ex-wife. So I tried to impose my expectations, my standards on her, and that didn't end well at all.
I can see that. Okay.
And I guess the third component was just my inability to give her the presence that she wanted, the attention that she wanted, because I thought that, okay, now I had this area of my life like taken care of, and I don't need to invest any time or any attention into actually being a good husband. So I would never take her to a date. I would never sit down with her to have a meaningful conversation. So she was missing that attention component.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you checked off the box because you were married, but it didn't need any more attention at this point.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Okay. So check the box and moved on, kind of thing.
Exactly. That's the wrong mindset coming into a relationship, because a relationship requires a lot of work.
Yeah.
Basically, just like a business, you can't stay stagnant in your business. If you're staying stagnant, it means that you are actually deteriorating in your business. And the same thing with a relationship.
I think plenty of people do that, though. They focus so hard on finding somebody, and then they focus so hard on planning the wedding and all this kind of stuff, but don't realize there's a whole lot of work after that. You know, a marriage and building a life doesn't just fall into place. You have to make that happen, you know.
Yes, and that's exactly why people have to have the actual marriage, the wedding ceremony, not in the beginning of the relationship, but let's say 10 or 20 years down the road. See, it should come as a reward, and they should be able to have it because they proved that they can actually be together.
Well, that's an interesting theory. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like the that's how you cap it off at the end, huh? Interesting. Yes. You need to write a book about that. That's fascinating. I like that. Okay. Huh. So the end prize, the goal at the end is the marriage. Okay, that's interesting. And I thought this wasn't going to be a controversial show. Interesting. I've truly never had a guest suggest that before. That's interesting. Huh. Okay. So I think you had an offer for my listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to my website, which is www.romanmirronow.com, spelled as ROMANMIRONOV, you can hit the contact tab and contact me for a no-fee session, coaching session. And if you mention that you're coming from Nikki's podcast, I will be more than happy to give you a 30% discount.
Awesome. Well, that is very appreciated. Thank you very much. And I'll have a replay of the show tonight, and I will also have information about Roman and links to his website. And thank you very much for being here. I enjoyed getting to talk to you this hour. And listeners, I'll be with you next time on Ready for Love Radio.